All right, we're live right now.
All right, cool.
It says the video's on standby or something, but all right, give me a second to post it in the group, and then we'll start. Okay, that should work.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna be discussing Goodnight Punpun, the first 23 chapters, which comprises like the first English volume, which just got released this month.
Lit.
Yeah. Good night, lit. Yeah, it's by Inoue Asano, who's like he's like probably the most popular like Japanese alternative manga author right now. So yeah, this series is it's hard to describe. It's basically like this volume is like a kind of like, would you say, a slice of life, like a really surreal like original take on like a coming of age story, I guess, is what the first volume was.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I was thinking before we hopped on here, like, what in the world would I categorize this as? Because it's so hard. But I think like a coming of age slice of life would be the only category you can really try and put it in.
Yeah, that
definitely.
I mean, that's definitely what the first like 10 or so chapters are. But like when I was rereading it like even like there's a like, you haven't read the rest of it, but I have. But there's like a huge shift in like like what type of story it is, like in a couple volumes.
Yeah.
And but even in this, there was like kind of a shift when they went to the factory. Like it turned into kind of a different story. Like it was a little bit more of like a Super 8 sort of Goonies, like
a mystery drama.
Yeah. There was like explosions and a fire and like all that stuff. So it was like kind of a different tone for that. And it does a lot of like covers a lot of tone. So it's kind of hard to describe exactly what you're gonna get to someone who hasn't read it. But So how would you describe it to someone? Just like a coming of age story?
I would say for category, I would say at least for Punpun, I think, and I'd assume continuing on, it's at least a coming of age story for him and how he is now and how he becomes as he gets older. So and how he changes throughout experiences in his life. So I would say it's a coming of age for Punpun Punyama.
What would you say, like what were your first, like, your initial impressions of the story, like, or like the style? Well, like what stood out to you the most, the art style or the story?
I would have to say the style first, because that's the first thing I saw. First of all, point of order. Everybody should do themselves a favor, and if you can even find the freaking volume, because you might not be able to, but if you can, you should buy the first volume. It's a great investment. But other than that, I would say the first thing that jumped out to me definitely was Punpun and his design. I mean, even on the front cover, when you first see it, you're like, "What in the world am I getting myself into?" And then you open the volume and you start reading, and he definitely like stands out amongst everybody else. I mean, besides his family, his direct family, amongst everybody else in the whole manga. I mean, it's just a simple design of like sheet a sheet covering his like a sheet and like a stick figure under it. So it's so definitely his design definitely stands out. The first thing I saw.
Yeah, because he like for the art style for the series is like it's drawn in a pretty like still a manga style, but a very like super detailed, like kind of more realistic manga style.
Definitely.
But Punpun and everyone in his family are drawn in like this super simplistic, like heavy, like inking, like cartoon, like simplistic cartoon style. So what was your like what was your takeaway from that? Like, what was your impression? Like,
I think
how did that
was,
affect like how you read the story? Like,
I think it was definitely intentional because I think his design directly correlates with how he is portrayed and how he interacts with the characters in the story and like the reader who's reading it. Because I mean, even in the first couple pages, he doesn't even talk. Like he only reacts to what other people are saying. And even when he does talk, when he's first introduced, he only talks through a third person narrator, and I've never seen that done before in any manga before. It was mind boggling.
Yeah, I've never seen that done in a comic. So
yeah, in a comic at all. So like,
rereading it, I realized like what that technique is. Like, because I was like, what is it like? How did he come up with this idea? And I think it was a subconscious thing, but it's exactly like how I should explain. Like when Punpun's the only character when he talks, like he doesn't use a dialogue bubble like in normal comics. Like you see him like speak and like have like gestures, and then there's a separate panel that's just all black for his speech. And I realized that's exactly like silent films. Like it's the exact same thing. If you watch silent films, like they move their lips, and then a second later you see what they said through like a black screen.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I think it's that technique. I don't know if he like thought about that or if he just like
it could be. That's interesting.
It's exactly like silent films. And I know a lot of like directors and stuff like that. Like they say like you can like get a lot of like it's like a test of how well you can just like characterize someone. Like if you can just do it without the dialogue directly coming from them. So I think it works well like for it to have like because Punpun's kind of like a really really simple sort of like old fashioned character, and he's kind of like he's kind of like Mickey Mouse or something like in the real world. And so he used that kind of technique, like an old black and white, like a silent Mickey Mouse cartoon or something. Where But
it's amazing because like, and then it sets you up right in the beginning. You know what you're getting into, and you know why he's doing it because he stands out, and the way he interacts with people and the way he interacts with you stands out, and both of those combined together, it just goes for an interesting read from there on out. I think that's one of the coolest parts to me. Like that was like so unique, so original. I've never seen that done before. It's insane.
Yeah. So what would you say? What would you say the tone of the story was like throughout most of this volume? When you saw Punpun's design, were you expecting kind of like a younger themed story or like an adult story?
Like when I first, I thought it was gonna be like kind of like lighthearted, a lot of romantic comedy, and there is a good amount of comedy. Romance, like a romantic comedy. I think it was gonna like a slice of life, like just like playing around a lot. You know
when you saw Punpun, like the little cartoon bird, you thought it was gonna be like a slice of life. When you read the first chapter, or just seeing the character, you just like
no. When I first saw the character, when I just like picked up the book and saw the cover and stuff and read the back of it, like even in the back, there's like 3 little sentences like he wants to win the Nobel Prize and save the world. He wants the girl he has a crush on to like him back, and he wants to find support. So I thought, there's gonna be a lot of dicking around. It's just the day in life of Punpun. and his friends messing around in school. That's literally what I thought it was going to be. And so, but when I started reading it, it was like, whoa. I mean, even though I don't think the tone stays one way the whole time. I think it shifts. It's like a roller coaster. I mean, it can get really serious at one moment, and Asano can get into some really deep stuff. And then there's really like a lot of like lighthearted comedy, romantic moments that kind of let you breathe throughout the story. And I think that's really good as well.
Yeah, I definitely think the design of the character it does a lot of different things. Like it's multi-purpose and as far as the storytelling, but definitely one thing it does overall like probably stronger than anything else since it's a coming of age story and it's written in this like way that's a lot more like brutally honest or almost like cynical and like harshly realistic compared to a lot of other like slice of life manga. Like it feels a lot more real, and it definitely does a good job of the design. The fact that Punpun doesn't look human at all, he doesn't look human. It somehow makes him more identifiable to you as you're reading it. You can place yourself in his shoes a lot more because of that.
And I always think like when authors
it's kind of like he's your avatar as you're reading.
Yeah, he's your avatar. Yeah, I think that's why authors choose a simple design for the protagonist so that you can place yourself in them and view the world from their perspective. And I think that's what Asano's doing. Plus, everything else as well.
Yeah. So, what are some of the what did you think of the non-Punpun characters really quickly? Like, what were some of the standouts to you and then why?
I have to go to Aiko at first. I mean, seriously. Like, this girl's amazing. I definitely want to see more of her. Starting off like her being a part of that like kind of cultish family kind of thing, and like they're selling like Universe Cosmo water, and they think like everybody's sick and like this water can help them live, and it's way overpriced. They and they're kind of like predicting like the end of the world and stuff, and I find it interesting because she's a part of that family. She grew up being a part of that like cultish family, and she wants to she doesn't want people to know about that. She kind of wants to separate herself from that, keep it at an arm's length, hide it from people and hide it from Punpun. But then you see like when she's interacting with Punpun and other people, you kind of see that side of her come out, and she can't really help it because that's just the way she is. And so I kind of like that duality with her, like. Because she gets really kind of like dark and kind of like cynical and kind of like really, really pessimistic, like saying the world's gonna end anyway. And like, but on the other hand, she doesn't want people to know that she's a part of that. So I find that really interesting, and I think he can do a lot of things. And I'm really interested to see what he does with that.
Yeah, I definitely think the characters are really well, like from the beginning, there's like a really strong sense of like characterization and realism to them. Like you really feel like there's like he's taking it, like he really knows the characters really well. And like in the beginning, what the whole cult thing, like if you look back, like when you meet Aiko's mother later on, the exact line she says to Punpun's uncle is the line that she says to Punpun when she first meets him about the world ending. Like it's almost verbatim, like the exact same line of dialogue, how like the earth is running out of resources and like people aren't gonna have a place to live. Like, so even though she's trying to get away from that cult, like you said, it is something like it's part of her upbringing. And so like he kind of like kept that in mind. Like even though it's something she wants to get away with, it's how she was raised. So it's kind of informing her perspective on things. And she does have this side of her that's kind of like weird and eccentric, where she's like, when she first comes to school, she wants to start a new life and like be seen as not part of the cult. So around other people, she's acting like a normal, cheerful girl, but around Punpun, she's kind of like a little bit strange. Like she's threatening to kill him. Yeah. She's threatening to kill him and stuff like that. What she says, like she's a little bit like she's not a normal girl. Clearly, when she's alone with Punpun, like there's hints that there's something up with her.
Yeah, she's definitely there's something off. Not everything's there with her, and I think that's. And I just can't wait to see more with her because I know. I mean, it really focuses on Punpun, But like, I can't wait to see more for at least these first 23 chapters.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see more. And I mean, the amount of characterization we get from her, and she's not in it a lot. I mean, she's really only in it for, I would say, about 8 or 9 chapters, and we get so much from her in those 8 or 9 chapters, and we do a lot of other characters, especially female.
Yeah, I know. Knowing like what happens later, like there's a lot that even with every single thing that happened with her in every panel is being like set up, even like really early.
Right. Yeah.
But so is it just Aiko, or like are there any other characters that you thought or stood out to you?
Hold on, you're breaking up for me. What'd you say again?
I said, so was Aiko the secondary character that stood out the most to you? Was there anyone else? Or?
Yeah, I think her and Seki, man. Her and Seki are definitely the two, and a little bit of is it Shimizu? Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Shimizu, her, Seki, and Shimizu, and Punpun's uncle. I think his name is Yuichi.
Yeah.
Seki definitely. He's probably my favorite. Reading these 23 chapters, he's probably my favorite so far. He's like real. We get a little bit of a backstory with him. You know, his dad was a drunk. Yeah, he owned his company. It kind of went under. He has like a really pessimistic view of the world. He's kind of upset. I mean, talk about cynical. I think in the beginning he really is cynical, and he's kind of like, you know, that type of person. Like, this is how it is. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can change. And he's like really serious, and I'm really interested to see how he grows from that, because I'm assuming that he does grow from either in a good way or a bad way. I really like Seki. He's really cool.
Yeah, he definitely has like he's a certain type of like person who's like, he's like a kid, and he's definitely still a kid, but he's clearly been in situations where he's forced to act like more mature than he is, and like more like an adult. So he definitely has like this this really like cynical, like too cool, like to act like the rest of the group of kids. Like he even says like, you guys laugh at anything, like you're so stupid, like to the rest of the group. Yeah, and yeah, he has a weird relationship. He has a weird relationship with Shimizu, where he's like protective of Shimizu, but he like beats him up all the time. He beats him
because it's like
they're like opposites. Where Shimizu's super naive and innocent, and he kind of like he wants to like beat it out of him, because he's like, you know, like you're gonna get taken advantage of. You can tell it's like a protectiveness, like why, like don't be so stupid, Shimizu. Like you're gonna get taken advantage of by people, but yeah. So now I want to talk about like the themes that you notice in the story, because one thing that I noticed, like that I didn't notice until the most recent time I reread this, was that the adults like lying to children, or like lying to all the characters, is like a huge theme throughout it. And like like I didn't notice that, like it's a big theme about how like I mean, and most obviously shown in like the chant that Uncle Yuichi teaches Punpun, the Tinkle Tinkle Hoy, which he clearly like made up. Yeah, he clearly like lied and just made that up, and it's like a huge reoccurring theme that Punpun believes. And there's a lot of little things like when his parents get into like the fight, and his dad beats up his mom and gets thrown out of the house, and Yuichi moves in, and he's like, isn't dad gonna have a hard time like with you living like here with and moving out all this stuff? And then the uncle's just like, oh yeah, that is gonna be a hard time for him, I guess, because they don't want to explain to him like what's actually going on. So like the adults keep lying to the children about what's actually happening because they don't think they can handle it. Like there's a scene in like a small scene in the ramen shop when they first go to the ramen shop after his mom gets put in the hospital or something, and there's like an old man, and he's talking to his daughter and her new husband, and he's like, oh, I'm fine. And they're like, are you sure you're okay, Dad, by yourself? And you're getting old, you're sickly. And he's like, no, I'm in my prime. And as soon as they walk out, they start freaking out and like taking pills and it's not everywhere.
Yeah, like they want to be protective.
It's kind of an exaggerated way though that Punpun's seeing it as like all these adults are like lying to the children or whatever, because they don't think they
can't handle the truth.
Yeah. And I think that's what like that moment with Aiko when Yuichi gets in an argument with Aiko and her mother is like kind of like the climax of the first volume or whatever, or the first part. Because that's when he first sees both who Aiko really is, and he also sees that his uncle is lying to him, and his uncle's the adult that he trusts the most and that he likes the most, I guess, at that moment. And he sees that he made up the lie about God. Like he's like Yuichi says, like he doesn't believe in it and it's not true at all, and he doesn't believe in God. And Punpun walks in right at the moment that he's saying that, so it's kind of like it's kind of like the beginning of him seeing that adults are lying to him.
Oh, man, that moment. I felt so bad for Punpun at that. Man, that's like walking in and hearing Santa's not real, man. Yeah. It sucks.
That was a really memorable moment for the beginning for me.
But yeah, I think definitely that is a theme. And another theme that I started to notice about the adults in general is that they're so over the top. Like even the teachers and everything. Like if the kids didn't do their homework, they would start spazzing, and like freaking out on the kids and like banging on the desk and like saying like you have to do your homework, you don't have any choice. And like every adult is like a caricature or like an over the top version of what we would think adults would be like when we were 12-year-olds. Like, oh my goodness, they're always on our backs. They're always nagging us about one thing or the other, and it's kind of like a blown out of proportion or over the top version of that. I think it's interesting really because and I think it's interesting because I think he's trying to show like this is how we thought adults were like. Obviously, it's over the top, but still, this is how we thought adults were like when we were kids, literally.
Yeah, the teacher literally wants to murder you.
And
stuff like that.
Yeah, and I found that throughout. And even another thing that I found, which is still kind of like the adults, is like the father figures of some of the characters are kind of like, I think deadbeat is strong, but kind of like not completely reliable. I would use deadbeat. Deadbeat, not completely reliable, kind of like has some demons inside of them. Struggling.
Definitely Punpun's dad and Seki's dad.
Yeah, and I think and I can definitely relate to that, and I don't know how many people can, but I think, and I don't even know if Inio Asano was trying to say something about his life growing up, but I think I think a lot of kids can relate to their father figures in their lives, struggling and how sometimes circumstances happen in life, and it kind of stuff starts going downhill, and fathers do end up leaving, and there's a lot of single mother home parents, or a lot of divorce happens, and I think Asano's trying to show that in this, because I just noticed that some of the father figures are really
there's no positive ones like I would in the first volume or anything. And it's definitely an interesting thing to like show, especially in like a Japanese series where like that kind of like really traditional family unit is like usually what's like seen in like popular culture and stuff like that. So it's definitely interesting to see like deadbeat parents and like the main character come from like a domestic abuse situation at home and things like that.
I think that like you don't really see that. I mean,
I don't think I've ever seen that in another manga ever.
Yeah, like you don't really see that in manga that much. Like the struggle between the parents are really, really prevalent, and it's like, damn, you don't see that a lot.
Yeah, almost like I think there's certain things that will almost be that are softened or easier to like digest in a comic because of the way the characters look. Like Punpun and his family, like it would almost be a little bit too brutal and a little bit too real if you saw them drawn in a super realistic way and that they were like fighting and beating up the mom and stuff like that, and it was like things like that. It's almost like it's a little bit easier to take in as like entertainment because of the way they're drawn, because it's like cartoon characters, so you can always it's like what Oda does with One Piece, where like
Right.
because
Yeah.
of Luffy's power, it softens like how the seriousness of the situation a little bit, so
Yeah.
you can still enjoy it
Yeah,
as
for sure.
entertainment.
Yeah, it would be a little bit
Yeah,
more
seeing
jarring, a little bit harder to
like
swallow.
photorealistic, like the mom
Yeah.
getting punched. You wouldn't think the dad was as like sweet in those moments where the dad is sweet, and he's like, you saw him like a realistic dad punching the mom and like knocking her out, and like her blood's on the ground, and
Right. Yeah.
things like
Definitely. It definitely makes it easier to digest when it's
Yeah,
a little bit more, when it's Punpun's family.
yeah. So like, are there any other like reoccurring things that you noticed?
I
Things that
think
stuck out?
yeah, I think Pun and his like his ideals, and like I think Asano's trying to like do this like really subtly throughout the book, is like the nature of mankind, and like kind of like the meaning of life, and how selfish people really can be. And I think he's subtly trying to do that throughout the story. And even like when like you see like Punpun's uncle going on these soliloquies randomly about like some really deep thoughts, and you're like, wait, where is this coming from? Like even when they were driving to go, when Punpun's mom jumped off of the
balcony,
the back of the steps at the hospital, the balcony, yeah. Yeah, and they were driving, and Punpun was being selfish within himself and only thinking about Aiko and how she would feel if he didn't meet her up because he had to leave, and he was going to. He just heard that his mom tried to commit suicide, and he didn't even care. And literally at that moment, Punpun's uncle was talking to the cab driver about how selfish humans are, and it was that moment. That's probably I think one of my favorite moments in the whole story. And I literally, it was jaw dropping to me to see that dynamic happen in that small space. And I'm like, wow, that's powerful. It was powerful. It really was.
Yeah, I noticed. I know in Japan, like there's a lot less sympathy for like suicides. So I mean, you could probably interpret that as like either as like both of them or either of them, because I know the conversation he had with the mom after that was kind of like blaming her for trying to kill herself.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Definitely.
he was like, you're being selfish. It's your fault.
Yeah.
Like,
That's yeah.
Yeah, because I know there's like a different attitude. Like in America, it's a lot more like sympathetic for someone who's like suicidal, and in Japan, it's like, oh, you're just being selfish, like,
right?
away from your responsibilities by killing yourself.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, and the mom has like, I didn't notice until I reread this how many times the mom has like either contemplated suicide because she was so depressed, or like tried to kill herself. Or,
man,
like, the flashback where she brings Punpun like in the taxi. Yeah, it was. Yeah, she's definitely like struggling with some problems.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about the actual like plot, like of the story, like him meeting Aiko, and then like him going to the factory and all that? Like, how did you think what did you think about the pacing and like the way the plot was delivered and things like that?
I think the pacing was really good. I mean, I was flipping through the book with no problems. I didn't feel like he was dragging out anything. I never felt like, why are we doing this? How does this connect to the? Well, even though this story doesn't, I don't even think this story really has like a other than following Punpun throughout his life. I don't think the story has like a plot A, which I would say. Like I think it's just like different situations in his life, but I never felt like it was dragging on one particular thing. I never felt like it was boring. I flipped through the pages, like I flew through it so fast. It was really good. But I really like the part where him and his friends are like trying to find like a really good porno to watch. And they finally get one that they think is at least decent. And they play it, and then after the first couple of seconds, and they're like really into it, it like scratches out, and this guy is like talking about how he killed his parents, and he's about to commit suicide, and he's like sending them on this like, you gotta find the bodies at this factory and stuff, and they actually go, and I thought it was just so interesting. Like I just love like how the characters, the group of friends Punpun is around, and how like how they interact, the character interactions between them, and how natural it feels. And I can like literally I can see like if I was 12 and me and my friends were hanging around the house, and like us doing something stupid like this, probably not. It's not going to be obviously to the level of the manga, but like us going out and doing something stupid like that, and like it not being anything that it was cracked up to be. And I just think it's really interesting, and like them getting characterized through all of that is really good as well.
It's interesting how many like really surreal things are going on in this story.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's this weird mix where it's also like grounded at the same time. Like it's very grounded, and at the same time, like there's like thoughts floating around in people's minds, and like giant bird, and like he's talking to God, and God is like a naked guy with an afro and like glasses. Yeah. There's so many weird, surreal things that wouldn't be realistic, but at the same time, like there's this balance where it does still feel like like a normal like that kind of like quotidian like everyday life kind of story. It feels a lot more real than most like stories.
Because you would think like even with you
would think all those surreal touches like take a lot of it and make it feel really fantastic, but it doesn't.
For some reason, and so I don't know how he does it, but even like Punpun, you would think like that would like I'm not feeling that design.
How can you relate to this cartoon bird?
But like even you're still like you're sucked in at the beginning, but even with like with Shimizu and like how his thoughts kind of like manifest into like actual real things, like even though they're not real, and the other characters think they're not real, when you're following Shimizu and you see him looking at his thoughts,
it's his reality.
His reality, it becomes the reader's reality because you think that it belongs there, but for some reason it works. It doesn't feel like why are these things floating in the sky. It feels like we're in Shimizu's head right now. We should be seeing these things. It's interesting. It works. It feels natural. It feels authentic. It feels like I should be seeing these things if I'm following Shimizu. And I think that's really, really cool. And I think that's really good when you're distinguishing characters. Because I think that's another way Asano doesn't let his characters be flat. Is when you're following each character, there's a different tone. There's a different style. And it's shifting back and forth, and it's never uninteresting. It's always engaging. And it's really fun, like going out throughout all the chapters.
In the case of Shimizu, there's almost like a different like visual style when it's his story because of
it's like
cartoon
wow.
stuff. But like I also noticed when I reread it, like how funny the first volume was. Like there's a lot of humor. Like there's a lot of like there are a bunch of little jokes that I didn't even notice. Like Punpun, like for something that's so dark, there's a lot of like slapstick humor with like Punpun's like mannerisms. He's like twitching and falling over all the time, and like wetting himself when he gets scared from the ghost. There's a bunch of little jokes that are set up. Like I didn't notice until this time I read it when the factory blows up and they think it's a demon and they're running and they're like, get the police, and then like the police can't help but the ghost. We need a medium. So they start and then Komatsu's like, he's like, there's no way you're gonna find a medium here, bro. Like he's like, there's no way. And then later on when they come back and Punpun wakes up, they found a medium randomly, and it's this guy who's like, I'm here to exercise the ghost, and they just ignore him and walk away. Like, all right, we found a medium. like stuff like that. It was really, really funny.
And even when Punpun when he masturbates for the first time,
he thought his brain shot out, and that was so funny, and it was so genuine to the way a kid would react to that, because he he thought something was wrong with his body, and he did all the medical books, and then he was like looking at vaginas, and then like vagina monsters came into his like. We're like shaking over his mind, and it was just so weird. The surreal stuff. I think it helps. It helps like put you in the shoes of someone that age, because like when you're that age, so many things are new and like strange to you in the world. Like people are different. Like you don't understand what the world around you. It seems like a magical kind of like thing. Like so many things are a mystery that the world seems like this kind of magical like
Yeah. Oh my
existence that's happening in the book. Like this feels like the world of like a 12-year-old boy, like how a 12-year-old boy's imagination would be.
definitely.
Like like you can
And I think
only at that age
yeah.
could you imagine like maybe that your friend could do a Kamehameha. Like in the books, it's like Shirizu says he can do a Kamehameha, and they wait and like see if he really can do it for a while, like a couple times.
And it's just those and usually people wouldn't like those down times. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
let's get to the story, let's get to the story. But in
Yeah.
this, those down times are the best part because you get to take a breath with your characters and actually see how your characters interact in normal day, normal situations, and make that interesting and actually get to know your characters more. The more I think for me personally, the more you care, because I
Yeah.
think if your characters are always going, always going, always going, always doing everything that pertains to the main plot of the story, you don't get to relax and really get to know them. You're just going with the plot. Whatever the plot wants to do is how you go. Like, I really appreciate, not just Asano, but any author that takes the time to show how these characters interact with each other, just hanging out at the park doing Kamehameha waves that they can't really do.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
think he did a really good job with the story of because I mean there are a lot of like slice of life elements in this, but this is almost like a slice of life that people who don't normally enjoy that kind of thing can enjoy because
Yeah,
he
yeah,
did such a
definitely,
good
yeah,
job. He did such a good job of like making all these little moments that are happening in their lives like making them feel as important to the story as they do to the characters as they're happening. Like
right,
you
right.
feel like the intensity of like whether or not Aiko likes him back. You feel the intensity of like when he gets lost in the city and he's just like running away. Like you feel like the drama of the situation
Yeah.
to the character through how he's telling the story. Like when he has a
That,
two-page spread, all Punpun's doing is running to hug Aiko before she leaves, and it feels
yeah.
so intense the way it's presented in the
Oh my
story. Like
goodness.
you feel the emotion of that moment.
Yeah.
So
That's one of my favorite moments. I mean, if I don't know how it feels, I don't know how it looks on because I haven't seen it on, but in the actual physical volume, Boone is running to Aiko, and he has a 2-page spread of her shedding a tear. I mean, I've never seen that done in any comic, and it's one of the most jaw-dropping artistic choices. It's like, wow. It's like I kept flipping back and forth, like, did this man just do this? Like, it's like, oh my goodness, that was crazy.
yeah, the
But
double two-page
when
spread.
it,
It was
yeah,
pretty. Yeah, it was a really like that's a really bold choice, but
yeah,
it seems so perfect for that moment. It works so well.
yeah,
And I don't see any like I haven't seen that done ever. Like two
yeah,
double page shreds, and especially to do it for that moment is kind
yeah.
of risky, but it works so well.
For a scan for the scans, how does that look exactly? Like, is it just the top?
It no, it's just like a big page. Like when you're
Oh, okay,
reading
it's
any,
just
yeah, it's just like a big page. It's you don't see like the line for like the corner of the book or anything like that. It like everything in the book looks better in the official version. Like they did
oh,
a
okay.
really good job of reprinting it. Uh,
Oh,
that scene looks good in it looks good in the scans, but certain
yeah.
other scenes don't look as good. Like
Oh, okay.
I don't know, the darks aren't as dark and it's a little bit like fuzzy or muted. So
Right,
like
yeah.
it definitely everything looks a lot better in the official version. Like the just the photo quality is a lot better. The translation's a little bit better, even though the translation wasn't bad. But
Yeah,
yeah, it definitely like if you're gonna read it for the first time, the official version is a lot. Like this is one of those like they did a really good job with like everything in
yeah.
the book. Even the way like I saw another review where like they were saying like the style of the book, like the binding just feels really good. The size of it, like it feels like
Right, yeah.
really good, and I kind of agree with that. Like when I picked up the book, I was like, man, they did a really good job with this. I like the spine and everything. I like the color they chose.
Yeah, it's really nice. The
Yeah,
printing is really high quality.
but
Um,
well, one more thing I want to say about the characters is like something I noticed when I reread it this time too is the scene like how certain little scenes that you wouldn't even pay attention to are like have like a really heavy implication, and they're like intentional. Like they show us so much about the character, and like foreshadow things that are gonna happen later in the story. And the scene that I'm thinking about is when right before he walks in on Uncle Yuichi arguing with Aiko and her mom. There's a scene where Punpun, and it seems like a completely irrelevant scene where he's talking about making curry, and he lied, and Uncle Yuichi says like, "Do you want to have spicy curry or like mild curry?" And Punpun just has spicy curry because he knows his uncle likes spicy curry. So he's just like it says a lot about the character that he just like he's gonna just, if he likes someone, he's gonna just go along with what they want, even though it's not comfortable for him.
Yeah.
And the fact, and then right after that, as Uncle Yuichi's answering the door, he sneaks around and gets some apples and starts shaving the apples into the curry to make it less mild, like his dad taught him. And that scene, it seems like, first of all, it showed us like Punpun's character, that he's like more of like a pushover when it comes to people he cares about. But it also foreshadows the whole situation with Aiko, where he just like his whole relationship with her is like she's like pressuring him to do these things that he's not ready for, but he likes her so much he's just going along with it. And then later on he regrets it. He regrets it, like, oh, this is too much for me. I can't do it. And so that whole scene foreshadowed the moment with Aiko where he leaves her at the station because it's too much for him. Like he said yes a bunch of times to her that he was gonna meet her there. The entire semester he said he was gonna meet her there. And then when the time comes, he backs out, just like he backed out with the curry. Like he just said yes. And then he's like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't handle spicy curry. You know, so I think that scene was like there, like kind of foreshadowing what's gonna happen and showing us like about Punpun's character, like how he.
It's really And I even think, and I mean, this is a perfect segue because I was going to talk about this. I even think in the first couple pages, that's established about Punpun's character, because when you're sitting down with his dad watching baseball, he even said he was going to become a baseball player just because his dad liked
baseball. Yeah.
So he was just going to do it. Just to make his dad happy.
I don't think he even knew how to play baseball, right? Like he just says he doesn't understand.
Yeah, he never played it ever before.
That was his plan, to be a baseball player.
Yeah, that was going to get.
And then he wants to become he changes it to becoming like a astronaut or something, or like a space station engineer, because Aiko says that's going to save people. So he immediately changes to please her. So
he wants to find a new planet.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's all because Aiko said like that's a good idea. Basically.
Yeah. And I even wrote down the exact note that he said. If people he likes or people who he respects, he's going to do what he feels makes them happy. And he's just going to go along with whatever they say, because that's just the type of guy he is, at least for now.
Yes.
And I think that's so, that's when the author, like, when he peppers that in throughout, like, the story, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, he definitely understands the characters, and it's like knows them well enough, and is like presenting little things like that in a really profound, like, subtle way. But yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk about was like the actual the techniques, the like art, the like storytelling techniques he used, the drawing techniques, the different because he does a lot of different things, like when Punpun first masturbates and he has the scene with like all the weird like psychedelic like mandalas and like the designs, or like when Aiko first says that she likes Punpun back, he has like these things shoot from his eyes, and it's like a kaleidoscope of little Punpuns, and it forms a rainbow, and like all stuff, things like that, like. Like the moment when you see Albert Einstein and like outer space, and like the way he uses like the cutout of God, and whenever God talks, it's a scrolling text like in Star Wars, like when he talks to Punpun. Like, he uses so many different the CG for like the classroom, and it's in a scene where it's supposed to be like really cold and distant, and he used like CG for that scene. For Punpun, he has like the thick lines, like he's using a paintbrush for him and his family. Or at least a paintbrush, filter in Photoshop or whatever. So what did you think about the different like drawing techniques and stuff he used?
He's one of the most experimental guys I've seen. And, I mean, this is definitely alternative. But I think not just being alternative. I think he's taking chances, and they're working. And I think his art, and his paneling, and his compositions are serving his mission. I mean, they're really serving it. I mean, all those like really like it when Punpun, like when something really big happens to Punpun, or there's a backstory and it goes in this like to this weird like psychedelic, like there's thousands of Punpuns like flying across the neighborhood of, like on his umbrella, like every time they sing that song in his class. Yeah, and then like and he's just flying away, and there's like thousands of Punpuns flying away. It's just like it really like it literally it lets you sit there and appreciate like wow, it feels like everything's deliberate. Every choice he makes, it doesn't seem like anything's like arbitrary. Like he's just doing this just to do it, or he's just trying to be different, or he's just trying to be hipster or something. Like it's just, I think everything is deliberate. I think he's making brave, bold choices, but I think they're serving his narrative perfectly. And I think if you want to push boundaries for all you young comic book writers out there, if you want to push boundaries and you want to do something very unique and different, I would say look at how he's doing it. At least to let it serve your story. A lot of times you'd see people try and do different things, but just to do it, or just to be different, just to be different. I think if you're a comic book writer, if you're doing something new, let it serve your story at least, so that it doesn't seem arbitrary. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I'm looking at the volume right now, and with that scene when his mom comes home, like she has like really super hyper realistically drawn like Gucci sunglasses on when she comes back
like when his uncle gets serious, like his eye gets really realistic.
I know.
It's like see.
It seems like the adults are drawn in like a more darker, like cross-hatching, like detailed style, and the kids are a little bit more simple too. Yeah, and then the kids' imaginations are like it's like children's drawings and stuff like that.
It's just serving. It makes sense serving the story, even though it's definitely out there. It's definitely unique. It's definitely most of the stuff is I've never seen before, but it makes sense, and it doesn't seem like he's just doing it just to do it. And it's a really good balance. I mean, not everybody could do this. I think that he's really talented. My appreciation has really grown because of that, especially because of his art style. I mean, even like I'm looking at his panel when Punpun first masturbated, and he says, and there's this like page.
It's so weird to say that. Seriously.
It is weird to say this, but with this manga, it passed. Yeah. There's this page at the end where he says, "My brain squirted out of my wiener," but it's like drawn like on this like hand drawn style, and it's not like the type, like it's like
the font is like a crayon.
Yeah, the font is like the crayon, like a child drawing it. But it's like. Yes, like that makes sense because like this is his first time. He's only 12 years old. He's wondering what the world's going on. It's like him saying that himself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like him drawing that. It elevates the moment for you. And it's like wow, like that choice. Like you can tell that choice was deliberate, and it makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we agree that it is a good series.
really good. I really don't like reading scans, but I'm probably going because there's no way. I check. Here's what I'm going to do.
It comes out in like 2 weeks, the next one.
Yeah,
it's like a year. I think the third one's like a year away or something.
No, the third. I think June 7th. The second volume comes out. I'm gonna pick that up June 7th.
But the next volume it's like June 20th or something, isn't it?
20?
I think it's the 20th.
I hope it's not the 20th.
I think pretty positive it's the 20th. And then the next one's like in 2017 or something. Or like September, October, or something like that, maybe.
I had the Viz Media calendar.
You have the Viz Media calendar?
Yeah, because I like to pick up physical volumes anyway, so I have the calendars for when volumes are coming out. And it's gonna be real quick. I have this pulled up. So June.
Who would you recommend this like book to? Like,
anybody who likes like slice of life alternative manga, definitely try this out. Even if you don't, and if you've been hesitant on that kind of stuff, like slice of life, alternative kind of like style mangas, and you don't know where to go, but you're interested to get into it. Because even I was hesitant at first until I read a couple of the series. I would say this is a great way to start out because I don't think this is like anything that will be like, oh, why am I reading this? Like, what's the point? There's some really, really interesting things happening. There's some really, really good characters. And I would say, even if you're hesitant about getting into that kind of stuff, I think this is a great place to start.
Yeah, I mean, as far as manga goes, this is a pretty short series. It's gonna be like
and
5 or 6 books, and
it's a fast read too.
Yeah, it's paced well, and it has so many like that surreal element. It's used in a way that makes it feel like almost like you're not reading something that's totally just too realistic to turn people off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it's June 21st. June 21st.
Yeah. So.
And then the next doesn't come out till September.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long wait.
Yeah, so I'm probably just gonna read the scans because there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah, if I hadn't read it, I would have already read the whole thing like after reading this volume. If like I didn't already know what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it's just
and the cliffhanger at the end.
Yeah. All right, so let's end it with this. Like, since I know what's gonna happen, what are your expectations for like the future of this series, like the next volume? What are you expecting to see?
I'm definitely expecting to see Punpun change. I mean, like his own guy.
Yeah, he's in high school.
Stop letting people kind of so like becoming his own guy. Like stop letting people take advantage of him so much, and like I'm really expecting Punpun to develop a lot. I'm expecting Aiko to develop a lot, and how she kind of deals with like her personality clashing with how she wants people to see her, and like her relationship with Punpun and how that's going to rekindle. I really want to see what happens.
You think it's going to rekindle? All right. No, it's interesting because at the end you already see like a completely different dynamic from them. Like they don't talk anymore. She ignores him. She has a boyfriend now. She has like a boy. Like he's on a sports team, so he's
Yeah, but I want to see like how what like I don't think like their relationship is over just yet.
Yeah,
I think they're definitely something's definitely going to happen to them again.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's gonna develop. Also, I think next volume, Seki and Shimizu have like their own kind of like ongoing story too.
Yeah, this guy I love those two. Their character interaction is amazing.
He gets a lot of development. Yeah, it becomes kind of like a thing. I think they go to a different high school or something, or maybe Seki drops out or something like that, and it becomes like the story about him and Shimizu and like him like becoming like a. I won't spoil it, but yeah, you get to see a lot more of them. You get to see a lot more of like Uncle Yuichi. Like all the characters get their own story, and Punpun's life goes. It feels like the older he gets, the more complicated and darker the story is, because that's kind of how like it is kind of like a coming of age story. So it's kind of like him losing his childhood innocence.
Right. Yeah.
So like it's already kind of a little bit dark, but it becomes definitely like.
And I'm interested to see how the adults are portrayed as he gets older. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder. I don't know this obviously, but I'm wondering. I'm interested to see, does Asano tone down the adults as Punpun gets older? I'm really interested to see how
like the spazzing and the
the weirdness, like the over the topness, the spazzing. Like, does it tone down? Do adults, like you said, like what you about, do they stop lying as much around him?
Yeah, maybe Punpun lies more.
Yeah,
maybe Punpun lies more.
Yeah, I'm so. I'm
maybe
really
Punpun slowly changes into that type of.
Well, yeah, I mean, that too.
Maybe he starts to look like that and spaz a lot. But but all right, I think that's a good spot to end it. So if we do another review, we'll try to get the girls in here next time. maybe they'll read. We might do like I don't know, like a different, like a short discussion or something with Mariah when she comes back and wants to talk about it. Cause she read like 80% of what we're supposed to read, but she just didn't feel like it. But all right, man, it was fun. It was fun. And,
dope.
Nice.
Read the book.
Yo,
good.
Lit. Oyasumi lit.
This just became an American treasure since published in America.
It is.
They should show this in schools, in art school.
Did you like this more than A Girl by the Shore, or like what's your impression of this now?
Definitely. Actually, I read The Girl by the Shore before I read this. I want to go back and actually read A Girl by the Shore to see, because I wasn't really acclimated. Is this still like a shock that it's this kind of story even after reading that story? Because that one's more like it's not a normal slice of life, but it's not like this. Like it's not as out there as like Punpun. Yeah, it's definitely out there. But the tone, I don't think the tone was a shock for me actually when I started getting acclimated. But because it's kind of like what he did with like kind of like the tone, kind of like the feel of Going to Shores. It's his stuff, it's his style. But first going in, I wasn't expecting that. But I want to go back and read it because I wasn't really acclimated to his style just yet. And I want to see what I missed from Going to Shore that I think now that I'm starting to catch on, like, okay, this is what this guy's doing. He's really subtle. He's not just going to hold your hand through the whole book and outright tell you exactly what he's doing. I'm going to go back and read that because I think it's going to be so much better once I read it again.
Yeah, he's definitely an
author.
He's definitely an author where like you gain more when you like finish the story and then you go back and you read it.
Right. Yeah.
Because so much is like intentional that he's like setting up
breadcrumbs.
When you know where the story's going, like I do, because I've read all of Punpun. Like just rereading this, like, oh my god, it's like that thing that Aiko said, it makes so much sense now. But all right, I think that's long enough, so we'll end it here.